Bro, that last conversation burnt me out. I'm mentally like incapacitated right now. You can kind of interpret that he meant that's what he's talking about specifically.
I feel like we're being a little obtuse here.
He said specifically the highly troubling matter of the Dominion stuff. So like, it's not, I don't think he's necessarily claiming that he actually believes that, but he's heard of it. Is that a fair alternate interpretation of what he could have meant by when he said that? That's insane.
I don't think so.
This is kind of like the Israel-Palestine stuff. Yeah, same movie, two different stories.
Anything like Israel-Palestine. I think the problem is that Donald Trump can never do anything wrong because he is a cult leader and half of the country is hypnotized by an 80-year-old man.
But I don't disagree. I don't disagree with all the facts you said. I just have a different interpretation of the facts that you've presented. And I've listened to all of Destiny's arguments over and over and over again. Like, it's just... Yep, seems like he's gonna be spawning in. All right, are you able to unmute now?
Oh, okay.
There we go.
I think we're good.
There we go. Admin works. All right. So as soon as this conversation done, I gotta remember to take your admin role away.
I promise I'll be good. Yeah, I won't do anything crazy. So I'm Rinyald, by the way. I talk about politics. I do liberal stuff. I couldn't really get a gauge of where your allegiances lie, if anywhere, but so I watched the video that you did on the Beta, Sargon lady and Destiny, and I'm obviously I'm not in the business to defend like other takes that Destiny has given or his personal life or whatever, because it's a little messy, but yeah, some of the takes that you were giving and the boiling down to Donald Trump being like any other politician on the left, I think was... I don't think he's like any other politician. That I have the opposite take on that. I think he's unlike any other politician. So in order to like rate him on the same like line that people usually rate other politicians, I think that's my reasoning for like not... Because like people say that I grade him on a curve, and it's because he's completely different than other people, than other politicians. So like it makes sense to grade him on a different scale. That was my reasoning. Okay. Do you think that we should do that for things like scandals?
I don't think so, but it'll definitely bleed into that, because scandals aren't necessarily like what do you mean when you say scandal?
Yeah. So for example, like comparing the way that Hillary Clinton treated the 2016 election to the way that Donald Trump treated the 2020 election, I think is completely unfair. Like, I think Donald Trump took unprecedented action around the 2020 election. And I saw a couple comparisons to Hillary's, like, quote unquote election challenges in 2016. And I don't think that they even hold a candle to each other.
I think they're related. I do think Trump was much worse. Or yeah, much more childish, worse. But I don't think it's fair to say that they're completely different from each other. They both on principle kind of did some like the similar thing, but obviously Trump went a little bit further than that. And I can understand why that seems a little scary, but I don't think that's not a disqualifier for me. Like, I think he truly believed it, so.
Okay. So we can have a discussion over that in a second, but so this is one of the points that I brought up, because I reacted to the video on stream, so I made a couple points that I remember. When we talk about Donald Trump challenging the results of the election, and then we bring up Hillary Clinton also challenging the results of the election, I think we have a problem in that we conflate every election challenge to every other election challenge. But the problem is that Hillary Clinton's claims in 2016 had a lot more merit than Donald Trump's did, and Donald Trump, I do believe, was knowingly lying about his election fraud claims in 2020.
All right, well, I don't think we'll agree on this, but I guess I might go down that rabbit hole. Like, you think he's been lying. I don't think he's been lying, and I strongly believe that he does not think that he's lying, almost to the point to where I almost don't want to like engage with that type of conversation, because I kind of like know where it's going to go through. But maybe I could be wrong, but like you would have to show me something that like overwhelmingly, like you would actually have to show me Trump literally saying that he was lying for me to be like, okay, all right, well, I guess he was, for me to change my mind on that. Like it's just too that's wait, give me a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
You understand what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah. You're saying that you would need like a direct admission from Donald Trump saying like, hey, I am knowingly lying about this, for you to be able to claim with some level of certainty that he is lying. But
yeah, because I think Trump is wrong about the 2020, but like I don't think he at the time believed that he was just lying to try and stay in power. I don't believe that at the time. I think now he's trying to like move on from that, because he probably now sees new information where he's like, he doesn't like to admit that he's wrong, but I can see that he's trying to get away from it, making it seem like he probably could have been wrong but doesn't want to admit it, maybe. But I don't think at the time when he was doing that he was actually like lying just to stay in power. That's the thing I can't agree with.
So could I read you off some? I'm fairly well read on 2020. Could I read you off some facts that may be able to sway you?
Yeah, you can. I've listened to Destiny's arguments on this a lot, and it hasn't, like, it made me seem like his arguments made it more like it's compelling, but it's not to the point to where I would change my mind. Like, I can understand why people are afraid of that, but like, yeah, you can do it.
Yeah. And also, to be clear, the reading that I've done isn't just like
I know, but Destiny's also super well read too. I know Destiny's is super well read on it. That's why. But I compare. I think he does a really good job when it comes to research and stuff. But I'll never admit that to him. Oh man. He's entertaining, but I feel like he does it in bad faith. But
sometimes, for sure.
Sometimes, especially with Trump. But yeah, continue.
Okay, so this is the first one that I'd bring up. So, do you know who Sidney Powell is?
Heard of him? What is he?
No.
Yeah.
So Sidney Powell was one of the lawyers that was charged with the 2020 overturning campaign from Donald Trump, with like Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman. Sidney Powell was also one of the people. She was leading the charge mostly on the Dominion voting machines. So one of the pieces that I would point to for Donald Trump knowingly lying about some of the election fraud claims that he brought up is that Sidney Powell went on, I think it was Tucker Carlson, and during a White House meeting, Trump acknowledged to multiple aides that Carlson had eviscerated or destroyed Powell on his program. He called her crazy in relation to her appearance on Carlson, and he described her allegations as akin to Star Trek. And despite all of this, saying that all of these claims were insane about the Dominion voting machines that she was making on Tucker Carlson, he went on January 6th at the Ellipse to make multiple claims about how Dominion was flipping votes from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. So that's like a direct example of him, one, calling a claim that one of his close lawyers was making insane, and then going on to repeat those claims anyway.
Wait, so when was this? He said that before January 6th that Sidney Powell's claims to Dominion was actually like crazy, but then adopts it later.
So Sidney Powell went on Tucker Carlson. I can find the exact date on that. But Sidney Powell went on Tucker Carlson to make a bunch of claims about Dominion flipping votes and being controlled by like Hugo Chavez or whatever. And in private with the White House aides, Donald Trump called these claims insane. And he said that Carlson had eviscerated or destroyed Powell on his program. And then on January 6th, he still went on to make claims about Dominion voting machines flipping votes for Donald Trump or for Joe Biden.
Oh, that doesn't. So this is like, I'm not trying to like reduce it, but like, this was like a hearsay from the aides telling that, or was this like a quote, a clip of him like saying this? Because like it sounds like it doesn't contradict if he said that stuff was insane what he was hearing, because like you could interpret that him saying that it's insane as like, oh, it's a negative thing, it's kind of bad, it's disbelievable, it's insane, or it's insane to believe this and he didn't really want to believe it but then ends up like kind of believing it afterwards, because like he might have seen more information, because like that was probably the first time he might have heard of it.
So just to get the dates clear, so Sidney Powell had gone on, I think, early November when she was making these claims. I don't think that he meant crazy as in this is like a crazy thing that Dominion is doing, because he compared her claims to Star Trek and then had said that Tucker Carlson had eviscerated her. So that would clearly mean that she came off crazy.
Wait, did Tucker Carlson eviscerate her? Like, she could have.
I think so, but I mean, you know.
Let me see that. I want to see that, actually.
Sidney Powell on Tucker Carlson?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me 1 second. But also to your question about being hearsay,
like this was
so it was White House aides testifying to the Jack Smith probe. So whether or not you want to take like White House aides like testifying under perjury to what Donald Trump had said to them,
I give them validity. It's just that depending on how, like, if I were to hear how he said it, I would have a much higher stance. But like it is left up to interpretation based on how the aides felt when they heard that specific conversation.
Sure, but to be clear, this isn't the only thing that I have. This is just one of the Jenga blocks, you know.
Yeah, I want to see that clip though.
Yeah,
because I'm gonna throw it up and then I'm gonna see what he meant by eviscerate.
So
I know.
To be clear, we don't have a clip of Donald Trump saying that he eviscerated.
No, I know, but
we have a clip of Carlson. Yeah. And also, I didn't see the actual clip. This is a part of the federal indictment from Jack Smith, so that's where I'm getting this information. I didn't find it particularly relevant to see the particular clip to know what Donald Trump said about it.
I would find it important because he could be talking about something like different in the specific situation, or maybe Tucker Carlson made like a funny joke and destroyed her that way, or maybe he made fun of like the way that she looked. Like it depends. Like I would like to see that, because like he could say that and it wouldn't contradict the fact that he still believed it at the end for like January 6th.
I'm pretty sure that it got taken down on a lot of things just because
really?
You know, election fraud claims are a little touchy for TOS. I mean, you can find like articles about it and whatever, but you can't like the actual clip. I mean, here's a Facebook clip.
Not even on Reddit?
Maybe on Reddit.
I think a lot of people from Reddit, I don't really use it that often, but I see Destiny always using it, and there's always like a clip of something happening there.
Here was the video of Carlson basically like I just posted it, and I shouldn't post it in welcome, my bad. I thought that was general. I'll post it in general though, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Or do you want me to just DM it to you?
You can post it in general.
Okay. So here's the post of Tucker Carlson like calling her out after her appearance for not sending him any of the evidence that she was claiming.
Okay. All right. The perks of having multiple monitors. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
11:20.
Oh, you won't be able to hear this. I'm gonna have to figure out how to set that up.
No, you're good. I don't need to hear it. You're good.
Okay.
Here's some of what Powell said today about the software.
One of its most characteristic features is its ability to flip votes. It can set and run an algorithm that probably ran all over the country to take a certain percentage of votes from President Trump and flip them to President Biden, which we might never have uncovered had the votes for President Trump not been so overwhelming in so many of these states that it broke the algorithm that had been plugged into the system. And that's what caused them to have to shut down in the states they shut down in.
That was a few hours ago, but Sidney Powell has been saying similar things for days. On Sunday night, we texted her after watching one of her segments. What Powell was describing would amount to the single greatest crime in American history. Millions of votes stolen in a day. Democracy destroyed. The end of our centuries-old system of self-government. Not a small thing. Now, to be perfectly clear, we did not dismiss any of it. We don't dismiss anything anymore, particularly when it's related to technology.
I wish I could play this at like 2 times speed. There's a lot of fluff, but...
Yeah, well, you know, that's mainstream media for you.
So that's a long way of saying we took Sidney Powell seriously. We had no intention of fighting with her. We've always respected her work. We simply wanted to see the details. How could you not want to see them? So we invited Sidney Powell on the show. We would have given her the whole hour. We would have given her the entire week, actually, and listened quietly the whole time at rapt attention. That's a big story. But she never sent us any evidence, despite a lot of requests, polite requests, not a page. When we kept pressing, she got angry and told us to stop contacting her. When we checked with others around the Trump campaign, people in positions of authority, they told us Powell has never given them any evidence either, nor did she provide any today at the press conference.
All right, now I want to know, what did Trump say specifically about the Dominion stuff? Because, like, he said that Tucker eviscerated her, and I can see why.
Give me 1 second.
Because you're basically saying that he kind of just he completely just shifted his mind, or changed his mind on that entire topic, from saying that because like she wasn't bringing any evidence. So like, I guess I understand why Trump would say like, yeah, Tucker eviscerated her. And then she ended up like not wanting to, she got mad and didn't want to like give like respond to any of the questions of giving evidence. So
let's do Trump ellipse speech 1-6. Is it okay if I just read you the transcript, or do you want to watch the video?
I want to watch the video.
Okay, because I can find it'll take me a second to find timestamps, because I want to.
I'll start watching it, and you can look for the timestamps, and then I'll.
Okay, because the ellipse speech is like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Okay, but real quick, here's the quote, and then I can find you a timestamp.
All right.
So he says, in addition, there is highly troubling matter of Dominion voting systems. In one Michigan county alone, 6,000 votes were switched from Trump to Biden, and the same systems are used in the majority of states in our country.
Okay. That's interesting. So he starts out...
And he said this 2 months later.
Okay, 2 months later. That doesn't seem like he's completely changed his mind on it. He doesn't even like claim that that's for a fact. He says there's things about Dominion, and then goes to a completely different situation, but having those two things juxtaposed, like sandwiched together, you can kind of interpret that he meant that's what he's talking about specifically.
I feel like we're being a little obtuse here. When we say that, when Donald Trump says there's a troubling matter with Dominion because 6,000 votes were switched from Trump to Biden, he's obviously claiming that Dominion was the one doing that, right?
Well, you read the quote, though. Let me see. That's why I want to see the video.
Okay.
And what do you mean by obtuse? What does that mean? I hear it a lot.
It means that...
Hyper-specific or something?
We're not accepting a very, like, easy-to-jump-to conclusion. Like saying, like...
Oh, okay.
I have the knife in my hand, and there's blood on it, and there's a guy below me who's dead, but I didn't kill him. You know? That's kind of what we're...
I mean, but... You don't want to jump to conclusions, though. But I understand what you mean by that. Okay, so that's what obtuse means. All right.
That we can feel comfortable jumping to, I think. But
yeah, but that's. I don't want to say that's subjective. Like, because like it depends. Like not every it. I understand what obtuse means. Now for the first time actually, but I almost don't like it because that's like scenario based and like depending on how people feel about a situation, and that's not the same across the board.
Sure.
138.57?
Yep.
Interesting. President Obama beat Biden in every state other than the swing states where Biden killed him, but the swing states were the ones that mattered. There were always just enough to push Joe Biden barely into the lead. We were ahead by a lot, and within a number of hours, we were losing by a little. In addition, there is the highly troubling matter of Dominion voting systems. In one Michigan county alone, 6,000 votes were switched from Trump to Biden, and the same systems are used in the majority of states in our country. Senator William Ligon, a great gentleman.
Okay, so this was 2 months after that. Do you think he could have found like some sort of evidence to like back that up, or some sort of like?
No.
Really?
No.
Like that would.
There is no evidence.
All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing, and stolen by the fake news media. That's what.
Damn, he talks so slow. I can put it at 2 times speed and still understand it. That's funny. Well, he specifically said.
There were always just enough to push Joe Biden barely into the lead. We were ahead by a lot. And within a number of hours, we were losing by a little. In addition, there is the highly troubling matter of Dominion voting
Especially
systems.
when, like,
he said the highly
claims up to.
He said specifically the highly troubling matter of the Dominion stuff. So, like, it's not. I don't think he's necessarily claiming that he actually believes that, but he's heard of it, and he's gonna bring it up right now, and then kind of just. He doesn't really like. Does he harp on it though? Because he did say at the end of it, he said there's issues with these Dominion stuff, but I don't think that's necessarily him being like. He knows that this is what's going on and like throwing into everything.
But he did call it crazy 2 months ago, and he did
call it crazy, but he's not like
crazy 2 months ago though.
Yes, he did, but he's not like super like I feel like he's only saying this just to like back up every other thing that he's been talking about, because he's not harping on it as if he actually believes that. I think he's just saying it just in the moment, because like, does he bring this up any other time after this? It's kind of like,
I feel like right now
it's like the cherry on the top of everything that he's been saying right now. I don't think he put too much thought into this.
I feel like right now we're at a point where I can bring you up a specific claim of him calling a specific thing crazy, and then him going on to say that specific thing that he previously called crazy. And now, even though we have a verbatim quote of him,
but this is 2 months later.
Crazy, we're just claiming that he doesn't believe it.
I don't think he necessarily does. Like, he called it crazy, which doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't believe it. It means that he thinks it's kind of like outrageous, like it's hard to believe. Not necessarily that he doesn't believe it.
His own lawyer got destroyed.
Yeah, and she did
for bringing those claims up.
Yeah, bringing those claims up and
because
not showing any evidence. I think
So if she didn't show Tucker Carlson or anyone within the campaign any evidence, why would we assume that Donald Trump got evidence?
Well, I think he would have. I think when he said crazy and that it's insane for her not to bring any evidence, I think he could have she should have brought up evidence, and that's the reason why this is insane. Like, is that a fair alternate interpretation of what he could have meant by when he said that that's insane?
I don't think so, because it's not like Sidney Powell is just some person that's outside. Like, Sidney Powell is one of the people that he particularly hired to challenge the election.
And she did a terrible job at it.
Right. But
that's why he called her.
He's still repeating her claims.
He repeated it because, like, that's what he truly believes in, the ultimate narrative, and anything that plays any kind of part into the ultimate narrative, he's gonna use it. But like, he's not harping on it. If he was
I think there's a term for that, for saying things with absolutely no evidence just to further a narrative. I think there's a term for that, and I think it's a lie.
Yeah, but it would be. I don't think that's lying. I think he thought of that in the specific moment and said it. Like, if he was gonna harp on it, then I would say that he's lying, because didn't he just trash this person, and now he's like harping, like giving like a good solid 10 minutes for this entire Dominion thing. I don't think that's what he did here.
That person in private.
Yeah, in private. So, but I'm just assuming that that's actually true.
Okay.
Like, I'm not gonna say that he's. Yeah, I can see sort of like I just have I have a positive bias on Trump. I don't think this thing by itself wouldn't make me feel like he's lying, but it definitely it slides the scale, but very small, very tiny bit. Because like,
do you think it speaks to Donald Trump's knowingly lying if, like, all of the lawyers that pursued the claims that he was pushing admitted to lying?
Did all the lawyers admit to lying?
Well, we had Kenneth Chesborough and Jenna Ellis both plead guilty to the Georgia indictment, and we had Rudy Giuliani doing the First Amendment right to lie. So we have at least the person heading it, the person that he called crazy, and 2 people that pled guilty to an election interference case, all saying that they were lying about election fraud claims, but Donald Trump was still repeating their claims anyway.
Well, wait. This was at the time, though. So at the time, like, didn't they... This happened after this speech, right? Like, they all pleaded guilty after this speech. So I don't think he was lying. So that information isn't in his head right then and there during this speech.
For example, the Rudy Giuliani case.
I think he could change his mind now, knowing that it's like wrong, which is why I see I see that he's kind of like moving away from that and trying to like put that behind him. But after seeing them like basically just getting indicted and guilty for lying, I guess, for that type of stuff. But that doesn't say that he was lying at the time when this was specifically going on. I think he still truly at the time believed that this was wrong.
So let's take the Rudy Giuliani case with the black box claim with Ruby Freeman, Shea Moss, and the Georgia pulling ballots from out under the table.
Is this before the...
Yes.
Oh,
this is before the speech. So Rudy Giuliani claims that 2 Georgian poll workers are pulling ballots out from under the table, and claims that they're fraudulent ballots, and says that this is clear evidence of fraud. The 2 poll workers in that video sue Rudy Giuliani for defamation, and Rudy Giuliani's defense in court was not that he, stands by the claims. It was that yes, I lied. For the sake of this lawsuit, I lied. However, I deny any of the damages that you guys faced from it. And this was, again, the person who was leading Donald Trump's election contests.
Are you paraphrasing that, or is that what he like?
I'm paraphrasing just because it's legalese. But I mean, we can find the specific doc.
That would be important, but I don't know if I wanna. I'll just take your word for it, I guess.
Okay. So we have Giuliani saying, for the purposes of this lawsuit, I don't contest any of the claims that Ruby Freeman made. However, I deny any of the damages. Ruby Freeman was claiming that Rudy Giuliani lied about them. So we have Rudy Giuliani, the person leading Donald Trump's election,
and he pleaded that before, like this whole January 6th thing in the speech.
He pleaded that after, but he made the claims before.
Wait, so he made the claims before.
Made the claims about Ruby Freeman before, and pled guilty to lying about them in a defamation case after.
Well, that's important though. If he pled guilty before the whole speech, but Trump was still saying that and like doing that, then I would see that would be more of that would show me more that Trump is lying about that, because he should know that information, but all the information Trump knows is the defamation part. And
I think I know the disagreement that we're hitting.
Okay.
So as the president, I would expect that whenever you're making huge claims about the election being stolen from you and about how you need to fight to save your country, whenever you're making claims like that, you should probably have any shred of evidence. But
I think Trump had
leading. Well, he didn't.
I think he had shreds of evidence. I think he had a lot of, I guess, what do you want to call it? I guess pseudo evidence, like a lot of things that he saw, that he heard from other people, hearsay from like the thing that the guy that pled guilty on, like he heard all that stuff before the guilty plea. And he believed that, like, because they're lawyers and Trump is not the smartest person.
He also had his attorney general telling him that the Giuliani shit was bullshit as well.
Yeah, I know that he fired a lot of people that basically said that basically was saying what he didn't want to hear, and then
was a fraud. Yeah.
And then he found a few people that ended up telling him what he wanted to hear, and he latched on to that. But I don't.
That sounds like a dishonest thing to do, right?
It seems dishonest, but like I don't think he's smart enough to be like, I'm just gonna find, like, I don't think this is something that he planned out purposely to like overthrow an election, because like there's easier and much more simple ways to kind of like do that if he really wanted to like stay in power.
To be clear, the things about him lying about election fraud claims wasn't the way that he was getting the election overturned. It was just justifying the way he was trying to get the election overturned. What he was trying to do to get the election overturned was the false elector stuff. We could talk about that as well.
Yeah, the Eastman memo. Yeah.
Yeah,
I understand why that's scary, but
yeah. Okay.
I feel like he could have done.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
So we can agree that he did repeat a claim that he acknowledged was crazy 2 months later. We could say that maybe he got some evidence, but we haven't seen any of that evidence. And then he was also parroting claims that his attorney general had called insane, and that the person making the claims admitted to lying about, but he was repeating those claims anyway as well.
Well, he didn't know about that before the speech. Like, that wasn't pleaded guilty, remember? So the only thing he had was the things that was possibly defamation at the time.
Well, he didn't just have that. He also had testimony from multiple people telling him that it was bullshit.
Yeah, and he also had a lot of people saying that he was actually like correct.
Yeah, but he also fired everybody who said that he wasn't. So obviously he had a lot of people saying that he was correct, because that's the only people that were so.
Yeah, I understand that, but like he also had a good amount of people saying that what he was actually thinking was actually legit. Like, if he was the only person and no one else was saying that, then I would be like, okay, this guy's crazy. But he found people, and enough people, to make him really think that this is actually like legit, that like we need to do something about it. And then he ultimately left at like January 20th.
After trying to do the insurrection. But okay. So let's do this one. So Jeffrey Rosen, do you know who that was? The acting
No.
attorney general? Okay. Jeffrey Rosen was the acting attorney general. Richard Donahue was the acting deputy attorney general in 2020. So he
Okay.
goes to Rosen and Donahue and asks them about a bunch of election fraud claims, and they don't back up any of them. And then he goes to Jeffrey Rosen and he says, "Hey, I have this letter that is claiming massive improprieties in Georgia's election, and I need you to send this letter to the Georgia state legislature so they recall their electors." And Rosen says, "I can't do that because the DOJ has not found any evidence of election fraud, and neither has Georgia's state investigators. We haven't found any evidence like the fraud that you're claiming in this letter." He says, "Okay." Then he asks Donahue to send the letter, and Donahue tells him the same thing. And then he asks them a couple more times, and they both say no.
When you say he, Trump
one
is
of-
asking them to do that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
One of the claims that Donahue makes in testifies to is that Trump said, and I quote, "Just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman." He says that to Richard Donahue after saying that they haven't found evidence of fraud in Georgia.
Trump said that?
Yes. According
Okay.
to Donahue. According
Okay.
to Donahue. So then, after Rosen or Donahue refused to send this letter to this Georgia state legislature, he provides this letter to someone named Jeffrey Clark, who is a lower level DOJ lawyer for an environmental precinct that he's not even supposed to have contact with according to DOJ policy. He goes to Jeffrey Clark and he's like, "Hey, if I make you the attorney general, will you send this letter for me?" And Jeffrey Clark says yes. So then he tries to fire Jeffrey Rosen and replace him with Jeffrey Clark under the pretense that Clark will send him the letter that Rosen and Donahue had told him was inaccurate. The reason that this doesn't happen is because half of the DOJ threatens to quit if Jeffrey Clark becomes the acting attorney general because he is wildly incompetent. So not only is this a point of huge corruption, but it is also acting knowingly dishonestly because the attorney general and the deputy attorney general had told you that there's no evidence in Georgia, and he still tried to go through corrupt means to send that letter to the Georgia state legislatures anyway.
Yeah, it's not something he should be doing. No.
But it speaks to dishonesty.
Yeah, but I don't think that that's enough to say that he didn't believe that the election was stolen and was just lying just to take power.
So we literally have him saying, we have the attorney general
'Cause
telling
there
him,
is-
we don't have evidence of fraud, and then him saying, "Yeah, but I want you to send this letter saying that there was fraud anyway." Well, like, how do you?
Yeah,
get,
that's
how do you get
damning.
more clear
That-
evidence of lying.
That's damning, but like, it's also, I don't like using this because like it's not really, like, I would have to hear that clip. I wouldn't hear, because like that is very damning if that's like true, and I don't know if that's 100% true because that was someone saying that's what Trump said. If I got a clip of him saying that, then I would be like, okay, he probably think that he was actually like, he's just
To be
messing,
clear,
he's
though,
just playing with this.
We do have the letter that he was trying to get Rosen to send, and we do have Rosen and Donahue testifying under threat of perjury that
Yeah,
all
but
of this has happened. We
the-
have the note that Donahue took saying, "Just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman."
Well, that's- wait, say that
we
again?
have a lot of evidence.
Say that
We
last
have
thing
the
again?
We have the note that Donahue took during the call with Trump that says, quote, "Just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman."
I want to
We
hear
don't
that.
have a clip of him- We don't have a clip of him saying that, but we have the note that Rosen took during the call. This is a direct quote from Donald Trump.
I mean, we
And
can
if
get.
if it isn't,
We
you
got the
can prove-
call
and
for
if-
other stuff though. Like we had calls about Trump with the Georgia case, but we don't have a call for this. We just have a
because Trump
quote.
was calling because Trump was calling like making an official call to a governor with the Raffensperger call, and this was a private call to his deputy attorney general.
Okay,
So, like, some
maybe it's
calls are
less
recorded and
important.
some aren't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would
And
have to
also,
hear
to be
that because
clear,
that
he was
would
also-
change my mind. I would have to hear that.
in these calls as well. I can provide you. So, as a part of the J6 committee, these Jeffrey Rosen and Richard Donahue both testified to all of this. It's about a half hour long.
6,000
Ano-
votes were switched from Trump to Biden.
Another issue with, so like the January 6th committee, I think they're heavily biased against Trump, and that's another reason on why I'm kind of not really. I really want to hear the clip on that specific thing, because I don't necessarily trust the testimony, especially for evidence that would actually change my mind on that. So that would, if there was a specific clip for that, that would make me lean more. That would make me play with the idea of actually Trump was probably lying about the entire thing. That would make me play with the idea.
Before we let's be clear what we're talking about. So when we say that the J6 committee, their authors were biased against Trump, I would probably agree with that. But the problem is that
you understand.
We have to be claiming that the J6 committee is doing witness tampering and causing the former Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General
that wouldn't require
Trump to lie.
That wouldn't require witness tampering. Like, having a bias against Trump just means that you, like, the people that are like doing the thing, they would have a bias against it, so they would be more likely to frame a specific thing that Trump would say in a little slightly or more progressively negative light than what you would normally do, like if it wasn't if you weren't super biased against him.
Are we saying that Rosen and Donahue, the AG and Deputy AG that he picked, are biased against him?
I mean, at the time of the testimony, maybe not the time when they picked him.
Maybe they're biased against Donald Trump because he asked them to do like wildly corrupt things.
Well, that probably is, like, that probably is true, but that doesn't change. That doesn't make him any less like biased. Like, they felt a certain specific way. I don't blame them for like being biased against him, but nonetheless, that's not going to make me want to take the framing that they're going to frame like a quote that Trump said like any easier or easier to like believe.
When we have a case about election interference, you're never going to find someone saying, yeah, like he did try to interfere with the election.
Yeah, but that's super damning evidence. Like, that evidence, I would need a clear quote. I wouldn't trust, because like if I were to trust that, then yes, that would change my mind and I'll play with the idea. But since that's such a change in my thought on how I feel about Trump, I would need a much more clear like insight to really change that for me.
Okay. So what I would say is that like testimony under perjury of two former cabinet members that he picked, as well as the letter that he was asking them to send, I think is probably
that's probably, yes,
at least
but like
something to consider.
It is something. It is to consider. Yeah, but like you don't need to. If you frame something more negatively, but also still tell the general truth, that isn't necessarily like what they're saying is a lie. Like, they could be telling the truth, but framing it in a much more negative way. Like, I would have to hear like what Trump said in that specific situation.
Well, the question that I'd ask then is that if it's just a matter of they're telling the truth, but it's just the framing, then what framing could possibly make that look better? Like, can you like think of a situation in which Donald Trump asking them to send a letter that they had told him was false?
Did you hear the quote when Trump said that he was gonna like be a dictator on like day one? Everyone thought that was gospel, but he was just joking. Like, if you just listen to the quote, it sounds kind of terrible with no tone or anything. Like, why would he say that? That's kind of bad. But when you listen to how he said it, like, you can obviously see that he was kind of joking.
So
I don't think he was. I don't think. I don't
multiple emails to these people like as a joke. And like, I mean, to fire Rosen as a joke, and then
I don't think all of them. I don't think all of them was a joke. I think that one specific damning quote that you mentioned, it could they could have interpreted it as like super serious, but maybe he meant that in like kind of like a joking way. Like, that's possible. I don't. He really shouldn't be doing that. But at the same time,
well, he's talking about. To be clear, he's talking about firing his attorney general. Like, why would he be phrasing that in a joking way? And why would he he held a White House meeting to discuss firing Rosen and replacing him with Clark? Like, just as like, was that?
But the specific the specific quote on like, just let the what was the quote that you said? Just say the corruption thing. What, like, say that? Repeat the quote again.
Yeah, Just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman.
Yeah, that sounds like something he maybe not joking, but like that's just like a dumbed down way of saying like, yeah, just don't worry about it, whatever. Like this is that's more of a passing comment than something where he's saying like he's like you can see that he probably isn't saying that as like a super serious type of thing. That's like a passing comment. And Trump has a lot of like his vocabulary isn't like the best when it comes to certain specific things. So like I don't doubt I do doubt him saying it kind of like in that, but at the same time it sounds like something that he would kind of say. There's not a lot of vocabulary with that type of speech, but it doesn't seem like this is something he would harp on or say something super seriously like.
So
like this is
the problem.
Like this is an evil thing that he's trying to do.
It feels like
I give him the benefit of doubt. I give him the benefit of a doubt.
Damning quotes. You don't only give him the benefit of the doubt. You make it so like it's impossible to prove any wrongdoing towards him ever. I think like we have direct quotes of him calling a claim crazy and then going on to repeat it.
Yeah,
and it's always like if we can't find a wiggle room to get out of it, it's always that he was just joking or that he didn't actually mean it or that was just like an offhand comment. But like.
But he has a lot of those, though.
That he makes about the election being. Why is it that every time he makes a claim about the election being stolen, it's an offhand comment or a joke, but he still tried to get it overturned?
No,
anyway?
I don't think. I think his comments. I think he was being super serious about it, like him thinking that the election was stolen. I think he truly believed that. I don't think those were jokes.
All right. Do we think? Can we name a claim that we think that he was being serious about?
Repeat that.
Can we think of a specific claim that he made as to the election being stolen that he was being serious about then?
I mean,
because it's not the Dominion stuff. It's not the Georgia black box video. It's not, the fraud in Georgia, because all of that is apparently offhand comments or jokes. So like what is like one piece of evidence that he actually concretely had to tell him that the election was stolen?
I'm only saying specifically, well, okay. I mean, you can. I don't like when people say that when I use one thing and I associate to everything else that Trump did. I think that one specific thing could have just been an offhand thing. I don't think the entire Georgia case is some joke or something.
Well, it's not. It's not just that one thing, because you said the same exact thing when I brought up the Sidney Powell thing and the Dominion claim. You said, "Oh, well, that's probably he didn't harp on it. That was just like one offhand claim in the speech." Like, and those were like two huge parts. Like,
but the thing is, though,
in Fulton County,
he doesn't just
the Dominion voting machine claims are a huge part of his election fraud claims.
But would you admit that Trump, like, talking about any other thing but the election stuff, doesn't he normally do that with everything else that he talks about? Even like when he talks about like other random like things that happened to his past with his family, like he doesn't have that type of like he doesn't. He doesn't.
I think he's a liar.
Yeah, but this is something he does with everything, not just the election stuff. That's why I kind of grade him this way.
If we want to walk it down and say that he's a knowing liar about everything that he says, I'd probably agree with you. But the problem is that he knowingly lied about this and then tried to get the election overturned based off of this.
No, I wouldn't agree to that. I don't think he lies about. I think he over-exaggerates the truth a lot, and he believes he's not an intellectual. I don't think he's not an intellectual at all. So he kind of just has that normal human mind thought process of like not really digging too deep into specifics, but like will still shout his opinion regardless and be arrogant.
Do you think we should probably have a higher?
Yeah, we should have a higher standard.
President to not just like lie.
And you keep using lie, and it's starting to trigger me. But yes, we should.
We're talking about him over-exaggerating the truth about claims he has no evidence for. Like, that is lying.
Well, he did have evidence. Whether that evidence was, he had like kernels of truth. I would consider that evidence.
Not even. Because every kernel of truth was explained to him by the Attorney General and the DHS.
Well, do we know that as a fact?
Every single time he went to somebody who was in...
Yeah, but why was he able... Why was able to
He went
find people
somebody
to
within his cabinet? They explained exactly why.
Why was he able to
You can
find
find
people
to say anything to Donald Trump.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But like something as big as that though?
I'll give you an official cabinet position if you lie. It's Rudy Giuliani. Like, let's not act like he's like the bastion of truth. He literally admitted to lying. So like, obviously he's willing to lie. He admitted it.
Yeah. I mean, but that's hindsight. Like for him to, I like the fact that he's not harping on this anymore. Like he's moving on, and that shows that he probably was. I don't think he was lying, but I think he believed something that was wrong. That's my position.
He still hasn't said. He still hasn't said that he lost 2020, though, right? He still hasn't said that he lost 2020, and he's talking about pardoning all of the people at January 6th, right?
Yeah, but now he has to say that.
So he
has to say that. Well, he's moved on in the specific situation of like he's trying not to talk about it anymore. Like he's not gonna concede, but like he's gonna like move on. He doesn't want to talk about it anymore. Because I think now he actually thinks that he was wrong, and he doesn't want to admit that. So he's just going to move on from it. That doesn't mean he was lying in the moment at the time when he was giving that speech. I just think he was wrong about all that. So like the characterization of making him seem like he's this evil guy that wants to do like he's trying to just stay in power. I can't believe that. That seems too much for me. I think he was wrong, but I think he believed what he actually believed. Regardless, yeah.
Why do we feel comfortable supporting somebody who at the most charitably had no evidence for or no reliable evidence of widespread election fraud? Why do we still support the person who used those kernels of truth to get the whole election thrown out? Doesn't that feel like a little
that feels kind of scary? But weird? The other I didn't really like the I didn't really care for Biden, and that wasn't too much of a big deal in my book. Like Biden, like him, like Trump
thrown out.
Trump doing this legal scheme isn't like we had him in 2016. If he came in power again, like that wouldn't be an issue with me, because like ultimately, if the thing were to work with Trump,
despite the will of the people.
And the thing is though, if Trump's scheme, the Eastman scheme, were to work, and he became in power, that wouldn't be as bad as Biden coming in and lowering my increasing my gas prices. I was super.
So you're saying?
So yes, I'm comparing the whole illegal thing to Biden's thing about like increasing gas prices. Yeah.
This is why so many people on the left have absolutely no charitability to people on the right, because you just claimed that you would be willing to vote somebody to support somebody who disregarded the popular will of the people, who completely wanted to throw out all of their votes because you don't like Joe Biden. This is actual authoritarianism. You realize that, right? Like this is like you are anti-liberal. Like you don't care about democracy at all because you're supporting Donald Trump throwing votes away.
On the fact that he really believed what that it was stolen, and for him to like, I would kind of just like, in hindsight, I can say this, but like at the time, he probably was right. Like we didn't get the information of like them lying after or getting pleaded guilty for lying. Like we don't have all that extra information from like after this specific moment. But like when it happened at the time,
you said that you would be fine. You said that you would be fine with Donald Trump throwing out wild legal theories that would effectively throw out millions of votes, disenfranchise 7 different states, to make himself the president again, despite the will of the popular people. You're fine with that because you don't like Joe Biden.
No, not in 2020.
This is how
dictators
rise. This is how dictators rise. Because like clear, this is like.
I mean, you believe that you believe that what Trump was bringing up was all BS, and at the time. Not every person in 2020. Yes, when we could see, yes, after the fact, I wouldn't agree with that. But before we even get all that information, before we even know that what Trump was saying was even like false or anything like that, like at the time I would be that wasn't that much of as importance at the time.
The DHS came out and said it was the most secure election in American history before January 6th.
Like how far? Like after November 6th?
Give me 1 second. November 12th, the Department of Homeland Security comes out to say that the 2020 election was, quote, the most secure election in American history. November 12th.
They would have to say that at the time, and Trump was still felt like it was rigged and stuff like
Trump
that.
was heading the government.
Yeah,
that was his government saying it.
That was him. He really shouldn't be like throttling and thrashing, but he ultimately left after the fact. So like
after the coup, after the attempted coup, right? He tried to throw out the election results before he left, right?
He also did want to like have a lot of like police, or what do you call it? Capitol Police at the time, but then someone.
I don't care about the Capitol. What we're talking
about. Well,
if
you want to coup, if you want to coup a government, then you wouldn't want to ask for that.
He tried to throw out the election results.
Okay, so that piece of information doesn't matter, really.
Yes,
like it's information.
To throw out the election results.
He found a legal theory that he thought was legitimately like true. He thought he was being defrauded, and it didn't work.
The lawyer that wrote it agreed that it was illegal.
After the fact.
The lawyer that wrote it, in the Eastman memo, it says that it would diverge from the procedures laid out in the Electoral Count Act, which is breaking the Electoral Count Act.
It was a weird legal theory.
He also testified. Greg Jacob testified that Eastman told him that if it was brought to the Supreme Court, it would lose unanimously.
Well, it probably should have brought to the Supreme Court then, didn't? Did it do that, or it never went there, right?
No, it never went there.
Okay. Yeah,
There's never going to be. This is the problem with the entirety of the U.S. right now, is that there's never going to be anything that I could ever provide you, even if I provided you a clip in 4K HD of Donald Trump saying I lied about the election. You'd say like,
oh no, if
you only said it once.
If I were to see, I literally said if I were to see that would change me.
I think you're lying about that though, because there's no amount of evidence that I could ever provide to you that would show anything. And you literally just said that you're fine with Donald Trump throwing the election results out because you didn't like Joe Biden's gas prices. So like,
I have a more nuanced take. You can reduce my. I do have
you said that almost verbatim. So
almost verbatim, not exactly. Like I wanted to go into it, but then you wanted to talk about. You didn't.
If we want to talk about the legality of the Eastman memo, we absolutely can. But I have a feeling that it's going to be the same exact conversation where I'm going to back you into a corner, and then you're going to say, "Oh, well, it was a joke, or that was based, or I don't like Joe Biden's gas prices." That's all. It's every conservative conversation is the exact same.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So I think we're probably done.
Did you watch the Ben Shapiro with Destiny video with Lex Friedman?
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about that? Like I took Ben Shapiro's response.
Right.
Didn't they talk about the specific?
I think Ben Shapiro said it was bad, but he grades Trump on a curve, which is insane because he's literally the most powerful person in the world. So, why would you ever grade the most powerful person in the world on a curve and expect everybody else to do that? It's fucking insane.
But the reason why people grade him on a curve because he's different than every other president out there.
Yeah, because he's allowed to openly lie and be corrupt and no one cares.
Is that not a true statement?
Piss their pants. It's that people piss their pants over Burisma, even though there's nothing tying Joe Biden to Burisma. But then you could have a billion different career-ending scandals for Donald Trump, and you'll be like, "Oh, well, what a jokester."
It's unfair, but like, isn't that not true that Trump is completely different than every other president that we've had?
Yes, and that he's hyper corrupt and willing to lie with impunity.
I don't. Yeah, this is kind of like the Israel-Palestine stuff. Yeah, same movie, two different stories. Same movie, two different stories.
Anything like Israel-Palestine. I think the problem
problem that there's
do anything wrong because he is a cult leader and half of the country is fucking hypnotized by an 80-year-old man. And I think if he asked any Republican to hold his dick while he pissed, you guys would fucking pay money to do it. That's the problem.
I wouldn't. I mean, I understand the analogy, but I wouldn't literally do that.
I have my concerns.
Yeah,
okay,
I think this was.
I don't think this is going anywhere.
Yeah,
I think this was wildly unproductive, and I was hoping for a little bit more, but it happens. If you want me to send you any sources, I've got a big doc. I am more than willing to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the conversation, though. I
would
appreciate
looking into the Rosen thing, and maybe.
Okay.
maybe expand your horizons a little bit. But party politics isn't everything. You don't have to suck off your cult leader all the time. You can like, I'm a Joe Biden supporter. I don't like everything he did. I don't like the Hunter Biden pardon. I think all the shit with Ukraine was weird. I don't like a lot of the pardons he's done. But
and there's certain things.
I'm not like a hyper ideologically captured person.
Yeah, but there's certain things that I don't like about Trump either. Like I don't support any of the stuff that he did for 2020, but that doesn't make it like, just because I don't support what he did doesn't make it seem like I don't think he's like this evil person that wants to take over the government. No, I don't support it because I think he's wrong.
You literally said earlier.
No, I just don't have a negative stance.
If the Eastman shit had gone through, at least we wouldn't have to deal with Joe Biden's gas prices. That's what you said. So
yeah, at least. That's not saying. I said at least we don't have. Like, I'm looking at the bright side. That doesn't mean I'm for what he did.
Okay, we can rewind the clip. You are absolutely for what he did.
I am neutral on that.
That's still way worse than it should be. You shouldn't be neutral on an attempt on our democracy. It's as simple as that.
Well, I don't see it that way. So.
There's no other way to see it. There's a very clear set of facts.
I see it as like someone that really believed that he actually
captured.
I mean, but I could say that you're ideologically captured on the other side, thinking that he's this evil guy that wants to take over the United States and wants to be like this evil dictator or something like that.
But like, I think that I provide receipts for everything I've claimed, and the only thing that you were able to walk off on is that it was an offhanded comment, or he was joking, or that you liked it. So, I mean,
I grade him differently.
Substantively disagreed with any of the facts that I provided, other than just off of a hunch.
I don't disagree with the.
I don't know what to tell you. You could call me ideologically captured, but I've done plenty of research into this.
I'm only calling you ideologically captured because you're calling me ideologically captured. Like, I'm not gonna go throw like I'm not gonna name call. Like, I'm only saying that because you're saying that to me. I'm like, I could make the same argument against you, but. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with all the facts you've said. I just have a different interpretation of the facts that you've presented.
Okay.
Well, more charitable, more charitable interpretation on a heavily biased for Trump, but
biased for Trump. I think you have such an open mind that your brain is falling out the other side.
Hey, at least I'm honest about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you have a good stream. I hope you have a good.
This is cool. First time I ever did anything like this. All right, thanks for coming by.
I mean, it's fun. If we have any other disagreements, we can talk anytime. I'm an open book.
All right, sweet.
All right. Yep. Have fun.
All right. I need to use the bathroom. This was epic, bro. That last conversation burnt me out. I'm mentally like incapacitated right now. Oh, bro. Oh, but it was a good conversation. I appreciated that. At least you could say that I'm honest. Like, I don't want to be dishonest. That's the whole thing. And I've listened to all of Destiny's arguments over and over and over again. Like, it's just like, if Destiny wasn't going to convince me, I don't know if anyone else is going to be able to convince me on that stuff. But like, yeah, I'm going to stop talking about that.